So, when I go to another psychiatrist in the future, we have difficulty with fraudulent old records. And no, most of them have been told to kind of just assume that I'm some nut making up stories on the paper before I go in. But that's making an assumption based upon no real world facts. The facts in which these paperwork are written is I have attachment disorder. So, is that a fact? Is it a fact that I have attachment disorder? Well, when did that diagnosis happen? Who was the first doctor to diagnose me with that disorder? And when did the snowball start rolling downhill? Because once when you have three doctors writing down on paper somebody has something wrong with them, the fourth doctor doesn't want to make it all go away. So we know the snowball was rolling downhill and everybody has added their own insult. Everybody's had their kicking me down the hill. Everybody's added their snowballs, throwing it at me as I go down. Everybody's added snow. I'm just some kid who was trying to make a snowman, fell into the fucking snow, and I'm rolling downhill, and everybody's throwing snowballs adding to it. But when did that one start, let's say? Well, once when the doctors understand that part, then it gets clear for them. But until they have the context, it's totally like, this kid just, cool. Well, we have 6 doctors who say it's true. But once, okay, well, who was the first doctor that said I had attachment disorder? Well, it was my mother. And now, okay, so my mother brought me to the doctors and had a doctor sign off that I had attachment disorder. I was adopted. That was one of their facts. I was at 2 years old, I lost my biological mother, and I was adopted. That's the only fact they have. But that wouldn't be enough for the doctors by itself. So what happened that made that get put in Westford? My mother drilled this, begged the doctors to put it down, just kept on using it as an excuse for everything. When my adopted mother, brought me into another room, slapped me with a ruler to send a message to my older brother right in front of her grandson, making her grandson cry, because I'm getting whacked in the face, whacked in the shoulder, sometimes whacked all over with a metal and a plastic, depending on her mood, with a ruler in the other room, just smacked around. Was I upset at the doctor's office, crying that my mother is hurting me because of attachment disorder? Because that is what the doctors and my mother said. Every time my adopted mother smacks me around, I just have hurt feelings about my biological mother from when I was 1 year old, who I never met. Actually, I did meet her once at age 23 now, but anyways. During childhood, I never lived with my biological mother. I never knew her. I never had any hurt feelings. As much as I'm concerned, she made the right decision. She's 15 years old. That's all I need to hear. She was 15 and trying to raise a child. She did her best. Fine. But how about my adopted mother? How about her? When I go in the doctor's office saying she's hurting me, and my mother says I just have attachment disorder, it's all made up stories, why did the doctor go along with this? Who started this attachment disorder bullshit with my mother? Well, my mother started this bullshit, but what did she use as evidence? Well, she used this in Westford. I went to show my mother a swimming medal I won in the orphanage. I took this swimming medal out of my Lego box. The orphanage brought me to the YMCA with the other kids, and whatever kid treaded their legs the longest got the medal. I won. They put my initials on it. They told me to make sure no other kids stole it. I put it in my Lego box. I get into an adopted family. I go to show my new adopted mother my swimming medal. Hey, Mommy, look at this swimming medal I won in the orphanage. So cute, just imagine it. A little 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old orphan from an orphanage, blue eyes, blonde hair, coming up to you, you're his new mother, saying, look at the medal I won in the orphanage. Now, what do you do as a mother? Well, my mother was trying to cover up a crime. She had Munchausen syndrome. She was drugging the shit out of me, and she was pushing illnesses I didn't have. So instead of just saying, good job, my mother comes over, grabs the medal out of the little orphan's hand, me, screams at him, you didn't win this medal. There is no, you did not. And I cry, yes, I did, I won it. Then my mother goes, no, it belongs to an African-American kid because he's athletic. Out of nowhere, not asking any questions. This is right now, right then, just as I show him the medal. Then she goes, yes, and now you're writing your name on stuff to hurt me. What's this ZG about? that was my name in the orphanage. No, it isn't. You're going around trying to hurt me, my mother goes, going nuts. Now that's bad enough, right? You show your mother your accomplishments and she goes completely bonkers, goes completely nuts and starts destroying your self-esteem, starts stealing stuff from you and acts racist to boot. And then she's using all this fucked up logic to try to justify her decision to steal my medal. I mean, it had my name on it, written by a staff member in the orphanage. It couldn't be any more obvious. You just adopted a brand new kid. This kid, you don't know him yet. You have only had a year or two to meet him. You really haven't known. You don't know what he did in the orphanage. You don't know what kids he knew. You don't know anything about his other foster parents. Did you even know he had other foster parents? Did you know his foster mother had him take a little eye thing on the wall and in the first week knew something was wrong with his vision while the kid didn't? I had no idea something was wrong with my vision because all I was told is we're going to bring you to the eye doctor, and then I was returned to the orphanage. So there was stuff going on way before I got adopted. But this new adopted mother is drugging me. She even drugged me for the adoption, slipping me pills. Now she's stealing a swimming medal. But this is where the whole you have all this attachment disorder. Every time my mother did anything wrong, and I reported it to a doctor, it was either attachment disorder, I'm making it up, it didn't happen, even when there's 10 witnesses. Even when 10 witnesses tell my mother that I jumped in a pool and my back of my foot got injured, my mother still has a fantasy in her head that she's telling doctors, he's self-harming with a pool railing. He's self-harming with a pool railing. He's committing suicide with a pool railing. Yeah, he did that with himself. Yeah, he must have took a knife and did that on purpose. He did it to himself on purpose. Meanwhile, I got stitches because I accidentally hurt myself jumping into a pool with witnesses. I didn't even know it happens. Other people had to tell me to get out of the pool and show me it. So yeah, stuff like that all the way to adulthood until my mother killed herself with drugs and alcohol, while my father also wants to hide from everybody. So of course that's not on any file either. No, my mother just needed a liver transplant. Her liver was failing before retirement, and it just happened to be she was drinking with her liver failing, and that doesn't mean anything. It just happens that she was getting caught stealing her son's pills the year before that. But that has nothing to do with her liver failing. The fact my mother was stealing pills, taking pills that weren't hers, popping extra pills, having all these medication issues, having all these alcohol issues, no. That is nothing, no fault of her own. Just blame the little orphan kid. Just like my father wants to do. I can see it in his eyes every time I talk to him about anything to do with my mother. He just wants to blame me for everything. He looks for it in his head. How can I blame Zach? We can turn this in. What fantasy can I come up with in my head? What fantasy can I connect in my head to blame my son? This little orphan kid is not part of the family, so let's put everything on him. That was the attitude for 25 fucking years. Anytime my mother or father drank too much, drove drunk, had to go to therapy, drugged me, smacked me, hit me with a ruler, put too much drugs into me, I had an overdose, whatever it was at the doctor's, it's always something my fault. Like the swimming medal. When my mother brought me to the doctors and she tried to make up stories about me, and I cried, asking for my swimming medal back. Now, I cried for weeks at bedtime. Weeks. This little 7-year-old crying, he wants his swimming medal back. I won that swimming medal in the orphanage. That was my medal. I worked hard for it. I want my medal back. No, I'm keeping it. No, it's the African Americans because he's athletic and you're not. No. You need to be drugged. You need to be drugged. You need to be drugged. That's my mother's attitude. We need to give you pills. No, you didn't. You're writing your names on things to get back at me. Get back at you for what? What the hell's going on with this person? I'm only 5-7 years old. I still think Santa Claus is coming down the damn chimney and rubbing his nose and turning into smoke and somehow moving around the house. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck my mother's thinking or doing, but I realized it was a mental illness. She had Munchausen syndrome, as well as she thought that people were out to get her. She used to try to make up these stories in her head, and she also would make up stories in her head about other people, like her best friend Alice. She made up a story that her daughter must be buying a bunch of alcohol in front of us when she was 21. She forgot her birthday. We all knew she was old enough to drink because it was a real ID. She used the real scan-in ID. They scanned her ID in and everything. But my mother forgot the birthday, so she made up a story in her head and tried to spread it to everybody else. That is a quite common. That was nothing. My mother trying to tell everybody that her best friend's daughter is some person who would use, fake IDs in front of us. I mean, nobody cares about a fake ID, by the way. We knew that there was fake. I was using a fake ID. People knew that. But you can tell because they don't scan in, and we knew who had them. This person was 21, and she wouldn't have used one in that situation. Absolutely not. And you can't get ones that scan in anymore in Pennsylvania to go to Mass or anything like that. It's just not something that was capable at the time. But instead of just admitting you forgot somebody's birthday and they just turned 21 and they don't have to use the fake ID anymore. We all know that we used fake IDs when we were 16, whatever. They were fat. They were crappy. We all had our way to get our cigarettes, but they were crappy. But now this person is 21 with a real scan-in ID. We just watched them take the ID and scan it on. But instead of admitting that you forgot you turned 21, now you're going to come up with a big story. She must be a criminal. She must know somebody at the DMV that would program her in with a special ID with a different age that actually went into the government system. I wonder if she's a spy. Oh yeah, she must be a spy because she has an ID that scans in now. Because that's how my mother thinks. No, I know her. I know I was there when she was born. She's underage, that's a fake ID. Well, how did it scan in then, Mom? Well, she must know somebody. Okay, then who can do that with a scan-in? Well, that would be the DMV only. So she knows somebody at the DMV. So that person at the DMV is willing to put in false information into the system, because now we have a big computer system that's nationwide. We even have those real IDs that scan in. So it's really hard to do that nowadays. You can make one that looks real, that you can pass to buy cigarettes and stuff, but if they go to scan it in, it will be rejected every time. I know this for a fact even at that age, because I was using a fake ID myself. So they scanned hers in. I tried to explain this to my mother, and she's still in, well, no, she must have had some secret agent type deal. And that's how my mother loses it. She takes one fact, like she forgot a birthday. Then she says, oh, that means that this ID that scanned in must be fake. But then when you find out it scans in, well, then you go, well, she must have knew somebody in the DMV. And then when you find out that, then you go, well, if there's nobody in the DMV that could do that nationwide, and if there's nationwide information and that's permanent, then we should go help her. And then my mother goes, you got nationwide falsities in the whole nationwide system. And then my mother accuses her of something big, like having her name in the nationwide system with the wrong age. Then they find out you just had the wrong birthday. So anyways, yeah, my mother used to do that stuff to me quite a bit. Now, the way I would tell this to a psychiatrist, the way I would explain how this stuff is dizzying, because you have real illnesses that have never been treated or looked into, like my mother having Munchausen and me getting drugged shitty, and then me not being able to move my limbs or extremities at time properly, knowing that all the way to age 7. Hundreds of witnesses have called me out, brought me to doctors, put me in physical therapy, asked me why I'm playing tennis barefoot, asked me why the basketball is going the wrong way, even though they know I can shoot straight. And I have a twitch. Why is your arm twitching like that? Why are you bumping in the doorknobs? Why is your watch broken? Why is your shins cut up? Why did you just fall off that bike? Why are you shaking? Why are you all falling? Why can't you do this? Why can't you do that? What do you mean winter's worse? What do you mean you don't play basketball in winter? Yeah, that was a big one at my school in high school. I would play basketball only during summer. They said, fall? You don't play basketball during? No, it's too cold for me. I can't. And I knew that much. I knew during summer I could go head-to-head with Marcus, the best basketball player in that special ed school. But he was pretty good. He came from the streets, and so Marcus Farmer was adopted by a family eventually, so whatever. But he could play basketball. During fall, I can't even shoot the ball playing by myself. I mean, I can't do shit. I can't even walk in winter sometimes. You want me to walk in winter? You got 10 minutes before I just get stuck or sneeze or collapse. It depends on how bad the stimulus is and if I have an infection or other stuff going on. But the simpleness of it is outside stimulus that affects the neurological disorder, causes lack of movement, seizures, muscle spasms, loss of ability to speak, stuff like that. So, how would I explain this in a couple other ways? Or I could go into the doctor, the psychiatrist, and go, so if I put a cigar in my mouth, what does that mean? Well, it can mean two things. It can mean I have homosexual ideations, or it can mean a cigar is just a cigar. So that's what psychology is about. There is no proof or disproof. Now, the cigar could mean you're a homosexual and that you want to have sex with penises, or the cigar can just be a cigar and that's it. But doctors will sometimes think that, like with my mother, that everything is that every cigar in my life is always going to be a sex thing. Every cigar I ever smoke in my life is always going to be a sex thing. And that's the way the doctors have this. Every cigar in life is a sex thing. Well, what happens if the cigar really means I'm afraid of a memory of my brother getting smashed by a telephone pole? Let's say a telephone pole smashed my little brother when I was a kid, and I'm repressing the memory. And I'm smoking big cigars to do with that memory and that nightmare. Now, my doctor, my psychiatrist can go two ways with this. He can think the cigar is just a cigar and means nothing. Or he can think that a cigar means that I have homosexual ideations. But how about if it's neither? How about if it means that my brother got killed with a telephone pole? This is the problem with psychiatrists. I can tell them what's going on. My mother did this to me. This is going wrong. And doctors and these people continue to cause damage to my body, and it makes me upset. When people destroy my internal organs, my arms, my legs, my vision, when things bad happen from people touching me, hurting me, or making decisions, I don't like it. If somebody decides to literally hurt me, I don't like it. Now, I'm not talking about mythology like if somebody does something on the other side of the world and has consequences where it hurts me. No. I'm talking about somebody actually doing something physical to me. I'm talking about somebody let's say somebody locked me into a fridge and I had a seizure. I'm in the refrigerator getting food for work. They put a stick in the freezer door playing a joke. They leave me in there for an hour. Then they pull me out and go, ha ha, we locked you up. What the hell? He's all bloody on the floor. Yeah, I would be mad at you for locking me. Oh, is this a joke? Yeah, now I'll never move my legs again because of your joke. I have seizures from cold, flashing lights, things like that. Like if I tell my roommate that flashing lights in my eyes could cause me to fall and get hurt, and then he pulls out a flashlight and points it to my eyes and flashes it back and forth once a week, I'm going to want to kill the motherfucker because he knows that could result in my death. If he didn't know it, okay, that's one thing. But if people are purposely choosing to do stuff that could kill me or get me hurt, and then I do get hurt, that's the stuff that really upsets me. When I get hurt, when I'm in the room bleeding, when I'm down the street because my job or work, or because somebody was doing something they weren't supposed to, or if a doctor doesn't issue something I need, like a wheelchair, but still tells me to go to get a CT scan done, I crawl on my hands and knees across lanes of traffic to get the CT scan done so I can get better. The doctor told me the only way to get better is to crawl across this traffic, so I do it. But then the doctor wants to play a game and see how many more times they can fuck with me. So they have me go across traffic 2 more fucking times. 3 times for one CT scan. I go in, we get the scan done, they bill my insurance, they say they lost it. We go in again, a second time, they do it, they say they lost it. The third time, we do it, and so they can't lose it, I ask for a CD in hand. Those little fuckers had to get me to get a CD in hand. And what do you think? When I have it in my hand to give to the doctor, they send it, game over. I won the game, now they're done playing with me some more. Meanwhile, I got injured. My legs were getting scraped up from the fucking cement. I did squat, walk, squat, walk, squat, walk. And the second time, third time, forget it. I was basically falling, squatting, going, falling, squatting, going. I was crawling. When I hit the bus, I had to crawl to get on the bus. I had to go on my knees to crawl, and people are taking, what the fuck's wrong with this guy? Needs to be in the hospital. That's what I told my doctor. I went to the emergency room, and they continue to release me without a wheelchair. They say, oh, well, you have a wheelchair to get to the parking lot. Well, how about after that? Well, you got to buy a wheelchair. And how do I get there without being able to walk? What the fuck is going on here? Okay, when I finally can walk, what do the doctors do then? They fuck with me some more. They double bill me. They play games like making appointments with me and I guess Bobby over in wherever. And then they call last minute, cancel with me. bill me and tell my insurance I didn't show up when they canceled with me. I have the phone calls and the recordings to prove it. I've had to start recording these people in secret because of their lies and their manipulations of using me. 25 years of doctors billing me and using me, and I'm